Welcome to the Couch Potato Sports Show, your internet radio home for all sports, news, and talk. Join Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio, and the Eagle Eye, Bill Cerna, and the best co-host anyone could ask for, Cuervo. We cover it all. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, as well as indoor football and high school sports. Now, it's time. Here's Sonny Clark.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio here on the Couch Potato Sports Show, as it is time for that being said, big day here on the Couch Potato Sports Show, because, of course, we're going to be talking about the NFC and AFC championship games that are going to be happening today. First one kicks off in about 3 hours or so, starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Green Bay Packers. Then later on in the evening, the Buffalo Bills will be on the road taking on the reigning Super Bowl champions, that, of course, being the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to cover those games in today's show. Also today, as you can see, scrolling on the bottom right here, as you can go right across, special guest star today, former NFL player, former movie star, sexy Santa, all over the place in commercials. You're seeing him everywhere, especially now. Good stuff. Pete Koch will be joining us as he is going to give us a little idea of what we can expect from the games today. And I'm looking forward to getting a guy. And we only bring on a few guests on this show, okay? And the reason why we only bring on a few guests is because we don't have to sit and listen to BS answers. Tom McManus is another guy I'll bring on this show. And Pete Koch is another. These are guys that I actually know, friends of mine, through relationships with, in this case, this was with the Minor League Football Hall of Fame I was inducted into back in 2013. He was a friend of the guy who inducted me. Of course, that was Coach E. Good to see DC, the boss, Dennis Clark, all set and ready to go, hopefully today. But guess what? We got him early. In case you didn't know, we got him here in this Cuervo on a Sunday morning. He is early, and I thought he was actually going to be giving the height type today. How you doing, Cuervo? Good to see you, my friend.
I'm doing great, Sonny. Well, we talked about it off the air, but I will have to bow out after our interview with the man himself, the Swede.
Yes.
Koch.
Oh, yeah. See, and as a guy that is in the military, definitely knows about the movie. Of course, Heartbreak Ridge is one of the many things this guy does, but probably one of the bigger things that people might know him from. Yeah,
and it was filmed on the same base that I'm stationed at, so it hits home a little bit.
Wow, yeah. How neat is that? That's something that Hey, door open to talk to Swede a little bit later on. Yeah, he'll be joining us there. So we'll be bringing him in. Interesting stuff going on in the NFL, and I don't know how much you've been keeping track of it. It has been absolutely crazy, whether it be coaches changing, going from team to team, and things like that right now. And we're at the calm.
I'm still with you, Sonny. I'm just gotta take my sweater off.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll bring it. But from coaches changing from team to team, things of that sort that are going on, guys that are going on. My Jacksonville Jaguars, I was excited about the Jaguars this season. Not that I have much of an opinion in reality, Cuervo, regarding Urban Meyer. I really don't. I don't know what to expect from him. This is a college coach going in there, but this guy hires out Charlie Strong. And if anybody knows anything about Charlie Strong or my opinion about Charlie Strong, this guy, the coaching method that this guy, the basics are not there, and I'll tell you the reason why. He goes out on his first game with the Texas Longhorns after he gets hired. The first game, Cuervo, they flip the coin. They win. They win the coin flip, and they proceed to let the other team pick what they wanted to do in the second half, which was receive the ball, and they also received the ball at the beginning. The nonsense that I'm definitely afraid about what's going to be going on. Give me some encouragement about Urban Meyer that I can take into this season, being a Jaguar fan.
Well, it sounds like your issue is more with Charlie Strong, Sonny, with the whole coin. And I vaguely remember that. But my words of encouragement.
I vaguely remember it because I called you and I told you we're getting on air. Now I only do that, when something incredibly stupid happens within the sporting world, at least in my opinion, anyway. And this was one of them, and I did. I grabbed you up immediately and said we got to get on the show.
Yeah, no, now I remember that now. And there's only been a couple times where you ask for an on-the-spot opportunity to go live. That was one of them.
Yes.
I think, and I missed it years ago when when you got a chance to interview Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think that was an on-the-spot.
It was on.
And then I think it was a firing, or something like that.
Well, just recently, before this last one, it was more about a coach not, dodging a Division III baseball team because he knew he would lose to him, and he was a Division I guy. Those kind of things get. And my brother says I have a vein that comes right across the forehead that starts pulsing, and that's what ended up happening there. But this one here kind of set up. More the fact that if he wasn't available this weekend, we maybe could get him in a couple of weeks. But Pete Koch is available to come on and give his analysis. And of course, movie star, sexy Santa, fitness guru. By the way, guys, you want to talk about buff Santa? This is your definition of buff Santa. And not only that, NFL player, unique insight of what goes on as far as an NFL game is concerned inside the actual huddles and things like that. And I want to get his opinion about a couple of things within the sport today, as well as the games that are going to be going on. That's what we got. Getting high and dry, bringing in Augusta every once in a while, and having a good time with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to today's show. I've got some questions written down for him. I tried to keep it limited to just sports. Yeah, here's mine right here. I don't want to steal all your thunder, Sonny, so I could have asked a lot more, but
forget typing. We'll just write it down. We're so old school. We still write questions down. So.
Well, yeah, I don't want to forget.
Yeah. So, but talk a little bit about and I want to go to some of the news as far as the Detroit Lions are concerned. Obviously, they have a situation there with their quarterback, as one Matthew Stafford has now demanded a trade. Earlier, he just and not that it is Cuervo, but we'll just push the button, but a little breaking news, a little bit, 17 hours old. The Lions are going to hire ex-head coach of the Chargers, Lynn, as the offensive coordinator. And I don't know if that was put in place to maybe try to convince Matthew Stafford to stay or what the situation was. But as far as the Lions are concerned, new head coach kind of reminds me of someone over in San Francisco when he took over an NFL squad. I'm talking about Mike Singletary. He is an old school coach. He is a punch him in the mouth, old school type of football. My question I got for you, Cuervo, as far as that hiring is concerned, is that the right thing for the Lions right now, or is this what they're going to maybe try to build some team toughness?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that's, what the Detroit Lions need is a culture change. And I think it does start with maybe a new quarterback. You got to, going in a different direction. Obviously, Matthew Stafford is only capable of getting you so far. Now, the organization hasn't done Matthew Stafford too many favors.
I agree.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I think they have had times where they didn't draft well, and I think it showed. The offensive line improved a little bit for Stafford over the years, but I think the lack of weapons. Obviously, you can't account for Calvin Johnson retiring in his prime. That was very unfortunate. But the only reason that Stafford even was able to keep his quarterback career in Detroit somewhat at a pulse is because guys like Kenny Golladay emerged. You started to get a bit of a running game with DeAndre Swift last year. And Hawkinson's become a good tight end. And so, those little things that have allowed Stafford to just hold on for dear life as the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. But, Sonny, it's probably not going to get talked about, but I think this was more of a Stafford decision than it was the Detroit Lions decision. I think Stafford is the one that is like, I've had enough. And he wants to, maybe see what he's got left in his career and, be able to try and take another team to the next level and show that he's not washed up and show that he still has a lot left in the tank, a lot left to offer.
And that being said, just in my green room is my special guest. There you go. Okay, I just want to make sure that his camera was working. So we might as well just do this because we don't get a lot of time for our guests, but let's do this. Let's bring him on in. This is one of these guys, an NFL player, movie star, sexy Santa. I mean, this guy has done it all. Let's bring him in, Mr. Pete Koch. How you doing, Pete? Welcome into the Couch Potato Sports Show.
Hey, good to be with you. Good to see both you guys. It's a big day. This is my favorite Sunday of the year. Probably better than Super Bowl Sunday because half the time, a third of the time, the Super Bowl is a clunker. But you have two great games today. Even if one's bad, you're bound to see some great football with four of the best teams in the NFL going at it.
Now, just to jump in on this, because I found this very interesting about you, and folks that don't know, we got to go back. We're talking to a first-round draft pick back in 1984. Okay, so that's number one, first-round draft pick. And not only that, how about this? This was an interesting thing I looked. He's 16 picks better than Boomer Esiason right there as far as that was concerned. But what the question I had for you, there were 2 picks in the first round. Huntley was drafted before you.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that because we didn't see him in a Bengals uniform when he was picked up there in the draft.
Yeah, that's a good question, Sonny. For those that are interested in the draft in '84 or Cincinnati Bengals or the Denver Broncos,
Yep.
where Ricky Hundley, he's a dear friend of mine. He lives in Los Angeles and has for many years, so we stay in touch. But make a really long, complicated story short. In 1984, the Bengals had the first overall pick in the 1984 draft, number one pick. The day before the draft, they traded down in a 3-team trade, and they moved down from 1 to I believe it's 11, 16, and 22. Don't quote me on that. And so they had those 3 picks. They took Ricky Hundley with their first pick in the first round. I was their second pick in the first round at 16, and then Brian Blados,
Yes.
guard out of North Carolina, was the third guard tackle, Brian Blados, and he was 22 or 24. And it was and Ricky never that was way back in the day when near 3/4 of the guys picked in the first round didn't show up to training camp on time. That's when everybody was holding out. It was crazy, and it wasn't fair to the players. That's been fixed over the years, and there's sort of like a grid now, depending on what position you played, the place in order that you were picked, and some variables. You can sort of you plug that in, and a contract comes out. There's not a lot more negotiation to that, and it's made a lot more sense to do it that way. But back then, it was the Wild West. And most every guy was holding out. We also had the USFL going. That was
That's true. Yes.
The NFL at that time, which made things more complex. Yeah. So Ricky, halfway through the season, I believe it was about 8 games through the season, the Bengals traded the rights to because they didn't have him under contract, to Ricky Hundley to the Broncos, and he ended up playing, I think, 5 seasons with the Broncos. And I went on my way just to put a button on the end of this story. 6 seasons later, I ended up playing most of my career with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
And then I had a series of surgeries, missed almost 2 seasons due to a number of orthopedic surgeries, was released, signed as a free agent by at that time, LA Raiders, Howie Long, Marcus Allen Raiders. And wouldn't you know it, who else signed with the Raiders in that year, 1989, was Ricky Hundley. So after all this time, we did become teammates with the Los Angeles Raiders.
I love the round circle of that story. It's great. It's one of the things. Now, going back to 1984, of course, first round draft pick, guy that played this game. It's one of the reasons why I like having a guy on here, and a no nonsense guy that will tell it like it is. And when you you watch today's NFL compared to 1984, what do you see are the biggest differences between 1984 and today's game? And if with those differences, could you play today with those changes?
I'll take the second question first and then direct to the first question. Yeah, I could have played today, I believe, but I would have needed to go on about my business and preparation in a different way, because the position that I played, mainly, I started at 2 different positions in the NFL. One was a defensive end and a 3-man front, and the other was a defensive tackle in a 4-man front. But those two, the 30 and the straight 40 defenses are gone. They're gone by way of the dodo bird. Most teams, line up 3 guys with their hand on the ground, and then they use sort of a hybrid position, outside linebacker, defensive end. And the game has really changed because the game is constantly evolving. People don't necessarily realize that every single year, 6, 8, 10, 12 rules are changed or modified in the off season. It's all in the best interest of the game to make the game safer and more interesting to the players. And over all these years, none of the rule changes have basically helped anybody on the defensive side of the ball. They've helped all the offensive players because that's where the ratings is. So in the 30 years it's been since I played, the average points per game is moved up, I think 8 or 10 points per game. It's quite a bit. And it might even be more than that. So the rules favor the offense. The game, it's a much more of a throwing game, and I think my preparation would have been all centered around getting to the quarterback, playing that that one gap technique versus the two gap technique I played, and not to get down into the weeds of how things work, but it was very important that a guy like me be able to play effectively against the run, and the running is a lesser part of the game. Getting to the quarterback is a more featured part of the game. That would be more important aspect of my preparation.
Cuervo.
Pete, first of all, I appreciate you coming on, taking some time out of your morning. So with that being said, going forward, what do you foresee based on your experience playing in the league, as far as defensive schemes and the way the game has changed from when you played to how it is now? What do you foresee possibly in the future as far as how the way the game can change?
Yeah, it's really interesting to follow it, and we're going to see such a compare and contrast in the games today. The first, the Chiefs and Bills feature two quarterbacks that are very mobile, and not only that, but they've got the sort of permission within their offensive scheme. Understand something: when you see a quarterback scrambling and get out of the pocket and to move the ball down the field, there's two circumstances with which the quarterback's going to run. One is it's going to be an ad lib, and he's going to be scrambling and trying to avoid a sack and then get down the field. The second would be a called play. Of the four quarterbacks that we're going to see today, only one of the four. I take it back. So two out of the four, Mahomes, and they'll be in the same game, right? So Mahomes and I'm just blanking on his name, but the Bills quarterback, Josh Allen. And so there's plays in their book, and we're apt to see them today where where their own number will be called, and they'll run the ball down the field. The other game with Aaron Rodgers, who's really even still a capable runner, if you remember when he was younger, I mean, he runs really good. I think in his prime, I think he's the fastest of the four quarterbacks today, but he won't run, and certainly Tom Brady won't and never did. And with Aaron Rodgers, it's a philosophical choice that they never use him to advance the ball down the field unless he's scrambling. And even within his scramble, he doesn't take any risk whatsoever. It's very low on a risk factor. Mahomes is much more apt, and certainly Allen, far more apt to take risk, and consequently they're more apt to get injured and suffer on the other side of that coin. So I think the style of quarterback play in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and they are younger, but it's a more, I think, accurate example of the quarterback skill set that NFL teams are looking for moving forward.
Let me ask you this: as you take a look at it, you know about the injury regarding Patrick Mahomes and everything, going up on, obviously one of the biggest games of the year being the AFC Championship game. The injury itself, I know back in the day, the injuries weren't reported as well, I guess, as they are today. Take us through that injury as far as what Patrick Mahomes is. Is it being reported accurately, or is it like me being the pessimist that I am? I don't believe any report, especially right now in the season, regarding anybody's health, especially Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something I've really been interested in learning about myself. Of course, I'm from the generation of players that when they were concussed, they would and they were wobbly. The one of your teammates would push you off the field, a game field or the practice field, and maybe a trainer would walk over and say, "Hey, what's up?" and then you'd go. Then the athlete would go, "I got my bell rung," and then they'd go, "Okay, sit down." And then they would send a trainer, an equipment guy over there to give you a glass or a cup of water or Gatorade. And then they would check back in with you from time to say, let us know when you're feeling, your head's cleared, and we'll put you back in the game. That was to some extent of what happened today. You would go into concussion protocol. And the bit I know about it, and I've just done my own sort of homework on it. And once you're in the concussion protocol, there's no getting out of it until you're cleared by an independent neurologist. So every NFL team has aligned itself with two independent neurologists in their hometown, so that when they, if it were like a road game, they go back home, they need that independent neurologist. My understanding is that the independent neurologist works in conjunction in close contact with the team medical doctor, who's usually an internal medicine or family medicine or sports medicine doc, and they work closely. And then and then there's a number of steps that the athlete needs to do. They need to show a certain proficiency on a football field with their balance, their quickness, their speed. They give them tests like say the days in a week backwards, and these very various neurocognitive tests, and they go along. There's a protocol. It's black and white. It really is with the neurologist. And when the neurologist comes in for the evaluation, you pass it or you don't. It's pass fail. And so what, it was Thursday, I believe, that Patrick Mahomes passed that.
Yes.
I think Thursday is the first day you're allowed to pass it once you're in the protocol. Because, but fair enough. As long as he passed that. And there's always somebody that might say, I'm dubious of couldn't the independent neurologist be paid off? I suppose that's possible, but a former NFL doctor said to me, he goes, I went to school and training and residency and until I was 31 years old, and I didn't do it so that I could take a few bucks and lose my job, license to practice medicine, and reputation, all for one stupid thing. It's just impossibly likely that would ever happen. And so if things are done the right way, Patrick Mahomes, there is some speculation that he actually didn't have a concussion, that he might have had an injury to his neck and carotid area, which offered symptoms similar to a concussion, but in fact was a different injury. But at this point, that's here and there. I think he's good to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, interestingly enough, the man in the bottom frame, that be Cuervo, has got a lot in common with you, especially with a Hollywood movie that you did.
Ooh, did we lose Sonny?
Go ahead, Cuervo. I put him in for you.
Oh, okay. We lost you for a second there, Sonny. Yeah. So yeah, the movie that everybody, a lot of people know you for, obviously with Heartbreak Ridge. So I watched your 6-part breakdown of the movie on YouTube, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I guess my first question was, and I don't remember you mentioning this, but how did the opportunity come up for you to play that role?
Yeah. So very simply put, at that time I was playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, and I went to school at the University of Maryland. But as a teenager, we had a very small, broken down weight room set up in the boiler room basement of my high school, and that there wasn't much equipment, and I desperately wanted to get bigger and stronger and give myself the best opportunity to play like Division I. That was my goal, football. And so I joined a local bodybuilding gym in Limerick, Long Island, called Rabs, and it was a hardcore bodybuilding gym. It was a converted supermarket, and the first sort of, I would say, 2/3 of the gym space was the bodybuilding gym, and then the back of it was a hardcore combat karate studio. It was a really interesting gym, and I was a fan of bodybuilding, and I loved this gym, and I made some tremendous gains, and I made a dear friend. His name was Perry Rosen. He's about 10 years older than me, and he was like a big brother, kind of a mentor friend to me, and we stayed in touch all through college and the NFL. And what I knew about Perry was he owned a small business, but he also had he owned a small business, and he worked in New York City, but he also was an actor. He'd been in some off-Broadway plays and done some commercials, and he really believed he could make. You have to have that crazy belief in yourself that you can make it as an actor, and he had it. And about the time I got with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we always stayed in touch, he goes, I'm going for it. I'm moving to Hollywood because I want to be in the big pond, and I know I'm going to shine. And he moved out, and we just reconnected he was a big brother. I knew big brother, another big brother in my life. And he began, he did some small parts here and there. He says, you can do this, Pete. You can do it. And he goes, I'll help you. And I got an agent, and the first thing I ever booked was a commercial for Ford trucks. And then I had to go back to Kansas City, and then I came back to LA in the off season. And my same little small agent, Joe Kokowitz, he says, hey, I got this audition for you, and they're looking for a great big guy. And it's over on Warner Brothers, so it's probably going to be good, but they're not saying who's in the movie, and they're not saying anything about the movie, but you'd be like this Marine. And here's the sides, your audition sides. Just go over there tomorrow and give it your best. I prepared for the audition, and I walked in the room, and I went on the Warner Brothers lot, and I walked in the middle of the summer, hot as could be. And I go in this room, and, here I am, I'm 6'6", and I'm 285 pounds. And I walk in the room, and there's 50, 60 guys, and I'm like average. Like two guys, 6'11", 7 feet tall, 320, 340 pounds, a whole bunch of pro wrestlers I've seen on TV. Everybody was there for this audition. And I went and I read, and I went home, did my best, and I drove home. 2 days later, my agent says, hey, you got a call back. We still don't know who's starring in the movie or directing the movie or anything. But he goes, so I go, and I went back, and they explained to me, well, this time we're going to put you on videotape, and we're going to send it to the director, and he's going to make the final choice. Just you did a nice job the first time. Let's do that scene again. I did it for the casting director. They sent the tape off. What I didn't know was they were sending the tape up to Carmel, California, for Clint to look at it. And in 2 days, and all those same gigantic guys and even more were back there at the audition. There was 500-600 guys that auditioned. And you wouldn't even believe there's that many big guys, in the world, but they were all there. The script read actually 6'7", 280 pounds. I don't know. I'm 6'5.5" and 285. It was a good fit that way. And about 2 days after that, my agent says, "Man, you ain't gonna believe this. Not only you got the role." I said, "Great." He goes, "It gets better. This is a Clint Eastwood movie." Holy cow. So and off I went. I worked on that show for 5 weeks, and it was awesome.
Hey, Cuervo, interesting. The connection between you is not necessary. Well, it is kind of necessarily the movie, but it's about where you go every single day.
I do. I am stationed on Camp Pendleton. I'm active duty.
Oh,
and so that area that the movie was filmed, I know that area pretty well.
Talega.
Yeah,
Talega.
Yeah, exactly. So, and some of that area is like El Toro, for example. That's been closed off for a long time.
Yeah, I know the best scene in the movie, and that's kind of a shame. What a gigantic area that is. It's hard to believe. I got a quick story about Talega. So if you've seen the movie Heartbreak Ridge and you recognize that area where that group of guys that the Swede, and his friends were a part of, and we were living in those Quonset huts there, and that's the Camp Talega section of Camp Pendleton. Last year, a colonel that is in charge of that, all that goes on there at Camp Talega, reached out to me. And they invited me to be a guest and say a few words at the Marine Corps ball.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was supposed to have been in November. It got canceled like everything else. But it's rescheduled, and I'm still on the docket, to speak at that thing. And furthermore, this colonel, who's such a big fan of Heartbreak Ridge, and they do tours there from time to time to the public, and they would always tell people, this is where much of the movie Heartbreak Ridge and Clint Eastwood, and they were here and here and here, and that was about it. And so he decided to go a step further, and I can't even show it to you. They have, I'll show you something. Get a kick out of this. They have now I don't think it's up yet, but they sent me this. Can you see that? Let me see.
Oh yeah, I see it. That's cool.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so you would that's a QR code down there. Anyway, they put this up down there at Camp Talega, and you would take your phone and open it to a QR code reader and scan it, and it there it says Sweet Johansson, and then what pops up is the scene where Stitch Jones says, "Say hello to my friend Swede," and I come into the room and we get in that fight, which didn't last very long, but the 2-minute clip popped up on your phone, so that is forever and forevermore going to be placed at Camp Talega, and he sent me a copy of it. I'm very proud of that.
Interestingly enough, I was going to ask the question that the gentleman who just joined us in the green room. So I'm going to bring in Bryce from Brooklyn. This guy comes on to our show a lot. Bryce, Pete Koch, go ahead and ask the question that you had set for him because I liked it. Go ahead there, Bryce.
Sonny, first thing, happy birthday. Wanted to say that. Pete, nice to meet you. Here's my question.
And by the way, just to let you know, yesterday was Pete Koch's birthday. So you're a little bit
nice.
Well, so my birthday Friday, your birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Pete.
Happy birthday, yes.
Yeah, happy birthday, Pete. Okay, so here's my question, Pete. You look at all 4 teams planning to go to the Super Bowl. What team do you feel has the best defensive line and why?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and I think they have the second best, 2 technique in the game right now in Chris Jones. If he's not the best, and there's a pretty good argument for this guy that the Rams have, but outside of that, and they've got the veteran that keeps on producing and making big plays, Frank Clark. They're deep at the defensive line. I love the way they play, and they do the little things right that I was coached. And you'll watch how many times and how effectively the defensive line of the Chiefs, if they don't get to the quarterback, that they'll get their hands up, and if they don't lead the league in batted passes, I don't know who does. And the way I learned the game was that you're not always going to get to the quarterback. Here's the bottom line to summarize this is incumbent upon what by the way, what makes a good defensive line, and you can look at the statistics like crazy, but here's the bottom line: is that guy being disruptive? And disruptive is really the operative word. And I'll tell you, the person that put that on me was Al Davis. So when I was a free agent and trying to make a comeback after a bunch of I had a wrist surgery and knee surgery and everything. And he says, "You got anything left, Pete? You got anything left in the tank? We're looking for somebody. We got a really strong defensive line here, but we're looking for somebody to back up Howie Long, increase our depth." And I said, "Yeah, Coach, I really do believe I got something left." He goes, "Because here's what I'm looking for. Can you still be disruptive?" And then he just shut his mouth and he let me talk and say, I got to kind of, I talk myself on, into the opportunity to get into training camp. All I want, I said, "Coach, all I want is a shot, and I'll let you see it that I can be disruptive." And I'm very proud, honestly. I'm as proud as making the Raiders team with a really, really talented defensive group that Bob Golick they had traded for in the offseason, and they had great 6'8" Scott Davis was on that team, and Mike Wise and Bill Pickell, really, really talented defensive lineman out of Rutgers, and Howie's best friend. And that was a really talented group. And I managed to find a spot with those guys, and I knew I still had a little bit left. So being disruptive, I think the Chiefs are very disruptive. And when you look at the things that they accomplish statistically from a defensive standpoint, they're a dominant group. But so is Buffalo. But I'm going to give the edge a long answer. I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah, good stuff there. And while we're here, we got two games. We don't got much more time. I want to just grab you up for your games. We'll maybe grab you up at a different time, maybe Super Bowl Sunday if you're available, or later on down the road. But talk a little bit about today's games. The first game is, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with obviously the GOAT. I call him the GOAT. You can call him the GOAT, the boat, whatever it is. That man is the guy. A little bit up there in age, he gets maybe the second GOAT vote, whatever the case may be, in Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game and the Green Bay Packers game when you take a look at it with what you know about, with the inside scoop of football?
I think that I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I mean, it's cliche to say that. I don't hate on him for any reason. He's had so much success. He's earned it, the old-fashioned way, as they say. And I have an expectation that he will play well today and keep his team competitive. I just don't think he's got the same number of horses and weapons as the Packers do. I think that there's that expression that those horses that run, they run pretty good when the weather's perfect, but they run even better when it's rainy and muddy. They call it a mutter.
Yep.
And here's another thing that people don't talk about enough. Tom Brady's a mutter. The weather in up in Foxborough, Massachusetts is as bad, for the second half of the football season is as bad as any. Cleveland, Cincinnati, weather's terrible. And he played all those games in horrible weather outside and kept on kicking everybody's butt. So in that respect, Tom Brady, on top of everything else, is a certifiable mutter. I don't know that those other guys that are, getting soft in that Florida sun are though. So I don't know. I expect Brady to keep his team competitive on the offensive side of the ball, but I think and anticipate that Aaron Rodgers will be able to put a hurt on Tampa Bay's defense. And I see even, look, the scores always goes down as the weather, as the temperature goes down, the scores go down. But I think relatively speaking, I would think that this is going to be a pretty high scoring game because I don't think either one of these quarterbacks and offensive systems, I don't think either one can really be denied.
So who you got? You going to go Green Bay? Or
I'm going Green Bay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Green Bay.
Green Bay. All right, and talk about just above your shoulder, the Kansas City Chiefs jersey right there on the wall. I don't know how much of a homer idea that you have about the game. What do you think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think the injury is going to be a big part of the game as far as Patrick Mahomes? And then you got the young cat on the other side with Allen at the quarterback position there with the Buffalo Bills, and we're seeing a reemergence of Buffalo that we haven't seen in years.
I wouldn't be surprised to see statistically, and I kind of look like I'm one of those guys that'll look at his app throughout the game and follow the statistics, and things like the course, in particular the quarterback play, the quarterback rating as it moves in real time throughout the day, which is I find pretty useful, and in particular in usefulness is looking at the turnovers. It's a very important thing to understand, and good coaches will instill in their youth football players. I remember, I had a coach who was very good about doing this. He would take the football and he goes, "Who's going to hold this? This football is going to be in whose hands is this football going to be in most of the game? The quarterback, because he's going to touch it every play, just about. And then who else? Well, the running back a bunch of times, and then the receiver, the tight end, and what about you guys? About the offensive line? Now, we're never going to touch it the entire game." And he goes, "Well, but here's the thing you got to know, right? This football isn't just a quarterback's football. It's not just a running back. It's everybody's football. It's everybody's. We're in this thing. The touchdown is all. It's a responsibility of the group, of the unit, and the offensive unit. And to protect that football, it isn't just the personally, but it's for the entire team, the defense and everybody. You fumble, you didn't just fumble the ball away from yourself. You fumbled it on the behalf of your entire team. And so that turnover margin is very, very important. And there's a statistic that says if the at the end of the game, the plus minus turnover, for example, if one team threw 2 interceptions and the other team threw 1, the turnover margin is 1. So if the turnover margin in the game is 1, it doesn't. There's no significant statistical advantage by who wins, but 2 or greater. There seems to be a real difference. That seems to be the sort of magical number. It's an imperfect game, so it's very rarely does an entire NFL game go without a turnover. So they will happen, but just to understand who's going to have greater, control over the football, that's the responsibility of the offense, responsibility of the defense to create turnovers. Teams are better at doing that than ever. So I think that's going to be very, very important. And I would say, all things considered, Allen is playing better than Mahomes right now. It doesn't mean he's a better quarterback or this or that, but right now he's in my judgment, he's got the hotter hand. This is concerning to me. I don't expect anything less than an excellent game from Patrick Mahomes, but it is concerning when the guy with the hottest hand, maybe in the NFL, Allen, who does call his own number on occasion, is 6'5", 240 pounds and runs 4.5. First of all, how come he's not a tight end? That's like Travis Kelce type of numbers. It's crazy. But he can sling it, right? Yep. And so I think in a really tight game, I think the Chiefs have enough. I think maybe the difference is Bieniemy. The difference in the game might be the offensive coordinator. This guy that calls the plays. I mean, somebody needs to do an autopsy on this guy's brain because it's brilliant. He's the genius. No, he's the biggest. He's the, what's that movie? He's the biggest brain. He's got the biggest brain in the NFL, I think.
Well, maybe the NFL franchises need to get that brain surgery because no one's picking them up. I don't know if they're waiting until they win the Super Bowl or wait until they get eliminated, but it's nonsense that he's not getting injuries.
That's another. I know that's another.
Makes zero sense. But Pete, I want to thank you for your time. Good to see you as always. Maybe we'll catch up with you a little bit in the future because we got a long old list of questions that we didn't get through. But it was a lot of fun to have you on the show. In the connection that we have, we can keep that in mind. And I want to thank you for joining us here.
I appreciate you, Sonny. If anybody wants to follow me along, I'm easy to find on Instagram or LinkedIn at PeteKoch.com. I'm the first name that pops up.
I need to do that. I need to get some fitness in you.
Yeah.
I'm actually buff, and I'm just wearing something to make me look big.
You haven't lost cause yet. All right, good night, y'all.
Take care. Always good. A lot of fun. I know Pete Koch from a friend of mine who worked in the minor league football back in the days when they had minor league. And a friend of mine was coach in that time. He just passed away, and that's our connection to that coach. And that's the reason why I was able. And again, I'm only going to bring only a few people on the show, mainly because I don't want to listen to nonsense, and they'll tell us exactly what they think. I don't like the political correct answer. I mean, if a guy sucks, I want to hear a guy say that guy sucks, and you'll get that from Pete. You'll get that from Tom. So that's the reason why I bring him on here because I'll tell you straight out if you suck.
Pete was great. That was great.
Yeah, I don't mind telling people that they suck, Frank Gore.
Here we go. You just couldn't help yourself, Sonny. You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't because it's going to be my line because I'm not going to let it go. But hey, good to see you. I didn't do your intro because of our guests and everything because I love to hear the intro. Hold on.
Dig it, sucker.
Yeah, and I can. I love it. I can dig it to have you back on. So hey, division rounds. You didn't do too bad. I'm looking here. You only missed one. And a lot of people thought the same way about you as far as, Baltimore. I didn't, but hey, that's just me. But the team that won is going to be, facing a football team that you can say whatever you want as far as the Kansas City Chiefs are concerned. And, the political correct answers and things that are going on. By the way, I didn't put up the comments because we did have our guest there, so I didn't want the bubbles to come up while our guest was on, because I'm going to cut this and I'm going to send it directly to him so he can have that. But got some fans of Cuervo and then, of course, DC. And of course, you throw that out there. Yeah, that's my brother. He loves you so much.
Dennis is great. Dennis is great.
But, interesting enough, we get you to the top of the hour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, or you can stay longer.
I may stay longer today.
But interesting. Last week here, what surprised you about last week? And it wasn't the game you missed. I know that, because when I went back and watched the show, you were about this close to picking Buffalo. So I don't think you really had any surprise that Baltimore might have lost that game. What game maybe got your blood pumping? It's something that you didn't expect.
I'm going to be honest. I wasn't expecting a dominant performance by the Bills defense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as like when you look at the Buccaneer defense,
Sure.
And Devin White was all over the place. He's been good, but almost a coming out party. So that was good to see. But we've seen the Buccaneers play championship level defense in spurts during this season. I hadn't seen the Buffalo Bills play defense with that type of toughness. And because even when the Ravens can't pass the ball, normally they're running the football and getting yards. They couldn't do anything. And I mean, and when they were able to get a drive and get in the red zone, big time 101-yard interception return. I mean, that's big time defense. That was very impressive. And I was a bit surprised that they bottled up the Ravens the way they did. I mean, stopping the run. I mean, the Ravens couldn't do anything. It was a wrap. Once they got the 17-3 lead, the game was over.
Yep.
Like, you never felt that the Ravens they're storming back or they're making it. Their defense won them that game. And that was a little surprising to me.
And interestingly enough, turn on your speaker there. I'm getting a little feedback, so turn on your speaker a little bit. But interestingly enough, when I was looking at these games, and I didn't do as well, but what I did, big surprise, right? This is the year of picking with the heart, because Sonny Clark picked with a lot of heart this year, which I normally don't do. I wanted to see if I could win by picking the heart, so obviously I can't. But that being said,
so that means you were
maybe I don't know. I don't know. I was. So maybe I was, but what's really surprised me, in the games, I was watching the Rams and the Green Bay game, and I was thinking to myself, if the Rams can keep this close get to the fourth quarter, keeping it close, they'll be okay. Well, what happened was Green Bay stretched his legs in third quarter, and then all of a sudden they don't match a score, and then even Sonny knew the game was over. Just by the way the game was going at the time, is like, hey, if you're not gonna match the scores, you got a problem. Not only that, normally when you have as many weapons as Green Bay has, you don't expect all of them to show up in a game. Well, guess what? Every one of the weapons showed up in that game. Everyone, and they just, even though they had the number one defense, what they did well throughout the season is find the guy that they can eliminate and end up playing well, getting good stats, and sometimes the numbers are deceiving, and that's exactly what I fell into. But when you have not one, not two, not three, but four weapons that are utilized on a regular basis in a football game, it's hard defensively to keep up with that kind of firepower.
Yeah, it really is. And I think also from last week, and I said Antonio Brown with the Buccaneers adds an element to that offense because he really can't be covered in a lot of scenarios. They're not going to have him this week, so that influenced the way I picked. But in the playoffs, you're going to always need one of your weaker units to win you a football game.
Yep.
And for the Bills last week, that was their defense.
Yes.
Who won them that game. So we'll see how that translates to this week. But I think when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. And so that gives them the option in terms of the run game and some of the things they can do. Pete talked about their defense. I do believe you can gain yards on their defense, but the issue
they're going to do that with the secondary. The secondary is the problem. It's not the defensive line; it's the secondary that's the problem. And not only that, they get burnt quite a bit every once in a while. And in a game of this magnitude, one burning. I mean, that could cost you a football game. During the regular season, it doesn't matter. I mean, in reality, if you lose a game, it's not the end of the season. Well, we're in that part of the season where you make one mistake, you could find yourself slowly going out the door with a check mark underneath the L side more so than the W and moving on into the Super Bowl. And, depending on what happens, that should be interesting. Now, that being said, of course, that's the name of this show. I like to take a look at – I want to look at this first game. So let's do this. I'm going to pop in. Let's go to the first game. First game up on board here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to be taking on the Green Bay Packers and all those weapons. And again, and I think Pete made a very valid point as far as this game is concerned. As far as the guys that are in this game, of course, Aaron Rodgers, of course, Tom Brady. The difference between Tom Brady and a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL is his experience in that kind of weather. And guys, say whatever you want. It's the end of January. Weather is an issue up in Green Bay. It just is. And I think they've got weather situation going on up there as well. But when you got a guy that knows how to play, like he said, they're sloppers. They play in this muddy, nasty crap. So really, I was looking at the quarterbacks, and I still give the advantage to Tom Brady and Real, even though they're home, even though they're in Green Bay, and there's always a feeling about what goes on in Green Bay. I mean, you get that is the GOAT. I mean, so you got two gods colliding, two football gods colliding. One's actually here, the other one's there in spirit. So I'm going to kind of look at this game a little bit differently, but when I looked at the defense, although it's there, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has a good defense, I think they're going to be put in the same position that the Rams were put in last week, is that there's so many weapons, they're not going to be able to cover them all. And Aaron Rodgers he's just magical with the ball. I mean, this guy can flick the ball 50 yards down the field without even, moving his arm too hard. I mean, that's how good he is. And I think where I look at this game and if Tampa Bay loses it, it's not going to be because of Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, if he has to come from behind with only one score, he's got an opportunity to win that football game, tie it up, or whatever the case may be. But if they're down 2 scores, it might be too bad for them to get back into it. My heart wants to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My heart wants to go with the GOAT because I love it. But man, Aaron Rodgers, and this, by the way, I had this line before one Stephen A. Smith had it, but Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. And I put it up on my back of my Facebook page many years before he said, he comes to my page and he steals my stuff.
He steals it?
He stole it. But I just don't know what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do to win this game. What do they got to do to win it? And do you think they'll win it?
Okay. Very interesting. I like how Pete brought up, the weather aspect of the football game. Mm-hmm. And Tom Brady is a mutter.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Weather won't affect him. Here's why I think the key to this game to me, because I think Tampa Bay be able to move the ball just like Green Bay be able to move the ball. The key to me is Antonio Brown. He is out today. And I believe while Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are really good football players, I believe that ends up being the key that can go against Tampa Bay, because I think the running game. So in terms of winning, right? And this has to be a game where Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones over 30 carries.
Yes.
Between both of them. Because while Tampa Bay's a warm weather team, Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, I don't believe, get enough credit for their style of run.
Yes.
Their style of running and their style of play. These are tough, inside, one-cut runners that I do not believe will be affected as much by weather.
Wait, one moment. Sorry. Breaking news, by the way, just so that you know. And guys, I was going by the weather forecast from a couple of days ago, okay? It's going to be clear. So we're not going to have the snow. A couple of days ago, they thought this weather front was going to come in. They were going to dump some snow on Green Bay like it always does. I just looked at it. Clear skies, 31 degrees as far as that is concerned. So we don't get the extra weather, as far as the snow is concerned coming down in this game. It's going to be a clear day, a little brisk, around freezing, a little dip below the freezing. But that might be the definition of football, isn't it, Bryce? I mean, come on. I mean, 30 degrees, on the gridiron, you're there, you're in Lambeau. That's the definition of NFL playoff football.
And come on, Sonny. I mean, I know you love to get on your Jags, but one of the best part of the Jags over those few years was Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
And he has a style of play that is portable. He's not going to be scared. Weather's not going to affect him. He's going to get the ball and go downhill. And just like Ronald Jones, who I believe is a very underrated running back.
Yep.
Those two backs, if our old crazy Uncle Brucey Arians decides he wants to play football the way he'll have to play it, not, no risk it, no biscuit, 4 verts every other play, and he decides he's going to run the football,
yes,
that's going to be a problem for the Green Bay Packers, because those two backs, it's not going to be anything fancy. It's going to be get it, run, one cut and run, and those guys are really, really good at that. So that can offset some of the weather things. So not having, so I think they'll be able to stay in it in that aspect, but not having Antonio Brown, I think, allows the Packers to maybe play more coverage, take their chances against those guys, play tighter, and stack the box so Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette cannot just run downhill and control the football game. So I think that's the Packer defense is going to have to step up, particularly in the front 7, to keep them from doing that. Put the hands into – it's going to sound crazy. Put it in Brady's hands and then pressure him.
Right.
Pressure him up the middle. And so maybe his age can show enough where you can slow them down. I think it's harder to do that when they have Antonio Brown. But without him, there may be a chance for them to do that. They're going to have to stop the run, though, because Fournette and Ronald Jones are the real deal.
They're just one less weapon without Antonio Brown in reality. And I think that's the, and
a slower, like as great as he is at the combat catch, a slower Gronk. So you've got Brayton Gronk, you've got some guys. They're built to run the football, but you're going to have to play coverage, disrupt, and hope your front 7, run blitzes, what have you, run stunts, could take care of Fournette and Jones so they can't play pass.
And since we got him right here, there he is.
Oh, look who's here.
This program, high and tight, looking sharp and dapper.
Watch out!
On the side, he's styling and profiling here on the Couch Potato Sports. Hey, we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game and the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers with all their weapons. Guess what? They got weapons on the other side with Tampa Bay, but the knee injury, whether or not he could have played or not, this tells me 2 things. Number one, that's a serious injury. And the reason being, who wouldn't you mind having as a red herring as Antonio Brown? If he could go, you may not even think about throwing him the football, but the red herring that is there, the decoy that he could have been, that tells me that injury in reality, Cuervo, is a pretty big one for Antonio Brown.
It is, Sonny, and I know a lot of people they have their criticisms about Antonio Brown, but one thing I don't think I've ever, questioned or judged him, and I know Bryce would probably, be the first one to do it, being a former Steeler, is his toughness and is willing to be on the field and play. I don't think I've ever questioned that. Yeah, he's a goofball and he dyed his hair blonde once, but I don't think I've ever questioned, yeah, oh yeah, he did the goatee too. So I've never, when I think of Antonio Brown, I've never thought of a guy that'll take plays off or sit out of a game because his pinky toe. He stubbed his pinky toe one time walking past the kitchen table. So, basically, I'm agreeing with you, Sonny. I think this injury, that whatever it is exactly, it's bad enough to where he's just not going to be able to play. And it could be partly too that Bruce Arians just doesn't want to take that chance, and he's banking on Tampa Bay winning today, and he'll have Antonio Brown available for the Super Bowl.
Got it. And interestingly enough, I looked at this game. I've been back and forth. My problem is I got much hate for the Green Bay Packers. Being a Bear fan, even though I don't promote it as much as one Cuervo, but I'm from the area. I'm a Chicago boy. I'm a Bear fan. Can't stand the Green Bay Packers. The only problem is that doing this show and doing what we do, when you see what Aaron Rodgers is, you can't deny the talent. And if you do, you're just an idiot. And you shouldn't be on a show. But that's okay. But you won't deny the talent that's there, and that is what. And I'm looking at this game. My heart wanting to go with the GOAT, whatever you want to. My heart wants to go with the GOAT. But man, those weapons, Cuervo, on the Green Bay side. It's not one. It's not two. It's not three. It's four. And not only that, to go a little bit more on what Bryce was talking about, the running game that they need in Tampa Bay. Well, guess what? Finally, Green Bay's got a running game, and a shoulder injury for Aaron Rodgers is not there anymore. He doesn't have to carry the team all the time. So he actually has a run game, and that's going to be important today. Even though you missed the breaking news a little bit earlier, there will be no snow dumping on Green Bay like I thought it was a couple of days ago. They were forecasting a lot of snow. Clear as bell, just kind of cold. Perfect NFL weather there, Cuervo, right? You put yourself on mute.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I it's because I'm driving. But, maybe a little bit of rain. You throw a little bit of rain in there, that might make it the perfect football weather, too. Football in January.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It doesn't get much better than that. So, but,
definitely.
I mean, and that's what makes Green Bay scary today is that, obviously, everybody knows what Green Bay can do in the passing game. All right,
yes.
We've known that for years. You put anybody with Aaron Rodgers, they're gonna make you look good. He's gonna make you look good. But the fact that they have a running game and they can go to multiple guys too. It's not just one guy. If Aaron Jones is tired, you can throw in, Dylan, and when Dylan gets tired, then you can throw in the other guy. I forget his name now, but I know Dylan and Aaron Jones are two of them. But that's what the game's become. Is when it comes to the running game, it's not just one guy or two guys. You're talking three, or maybe even in Tampa's case, if they're fully healthy, you could have even a fourth guy in the backfield. So, that's what the running game has become in the NFL now. So. But that's what makes Green Bay very scary today is the fact that the balance of offense that they're showing is just going to open so much more up for Rodgers to be able to do.
So it sounds like to me, Cuervo, you're saying that the offenses might just blank themselves out, which leads two more parts of the game. Defense and special teams That's where I think this game is going to be won in reality, because when you look at the numbers, listen, the numbers are about the same. Green Bay is averaging 32 points a game. Tampa Bay is averaging close to 31. So they're not there. The difference is Green Bay's only giving up 18 points a game. Tampa Bay's only giving up 21. So looking at the numbers, thinking about everything that's going on as far as that is concerned, something tells me we're going to have to look at the special teams there, Bryce, as far as who might win this football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. There's always the hidden yardage there, right? I'm not familiar as much with the returners for both those teams, but it's interesting when you look at Green Bay. I think they've got good weapons. Devontae Adams obviously is an all-world talent, but having that guy, I think, really offsets the offense is really offset with a lot of the other parts and pieces that they use. And Matt LaFleur has done a good job of coordinating that offense and getting the most out of the talent that he has. And ultimately, with that, I think they'll be able to slow down Tampa Bay just enough. And I'm not sure that Tampa Bay is going to be able to slow down Aaron Rodgers as much, because I think they're going to run the football and they're going to come right at Tampa Bay. And that's the way you have to play against a fast-flowing defense like Tampa Bay. You got to run at them. You got to make them stop the run. I think Green Bay does just enough. Sorry to say this, Cuervo, do it enough to get a win and go to the Super Bowl.
That being said, there he is.
Make me.
I got to show it. He is the champion. He is the 2020 NFL Pickup Champion. Yes, it is the Boss DC Tennis Clark. Right here.
Hey man, where's my trophy, man? Where's my trophy?
Your trophy. Yeah, go out and buy yourself a cake and feel good about yourself, man.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Hey, Sonny, I didn't want to forget. It was great having Pete on, but I would love to have Tom McManus on.
Oh, I've had him on our show. He's been one of our regulars. He was on our he was the only guest we had on our 10-year anniversary, which, by the way, the 12 years on February 17th. Okay, we'll do that now. Yep. 12 years of the Couch Potato Sports Show on February 17th. Don't miss it out. We'll be doing that. Yeah, we've been doing this a dozen years. So, yes, whenever I'm going to try to get Tom in. See, this guy, Tom McManus, now is so busy. He's got multiple productions. He's on sports radio back again, which is where he really wanted to be. Plus, he's got his own production company, and he does a lot of things. So it might be hard to get. I got the request out to maybe.
In other words, he has a life.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's about making money. So, hopefully we can get him on live. If we can't get him on live, of course, I'll run through and do a recorded interview and get it up, and it's where everybody can see it. So, but yeah, Tom McManus, that's the reason why Sonny Clark became a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. And and when I made the connection with him back when we started doing our show 12 years ago, and I kind of, let him know that he was one of my favorite players. I don't know if that what got him. I don't know if that's what hooked him or not. But if it was, it's been a good relationship with the show. So, hey, now that being said, I'm going to Bryce. Pick a winner. I mean, this one's a tough one. My gosh, this one. The Bucks, good offense, defense. Maybe it'll be special teams. Who do you got in this game and why?
I think with Aaron Rodgers, I think the Packers do enough to run the football. They get the run game going, and because the Bucks don't have Antonio Brown, I think that's the X factor that gets slowed down enough where the Packers can pull this game out. Cuervo, once again, I'm sorry to have to say this.
That's an evil point, by the way. It's like
you're a Packer fan too, huh, Bryce?
I'm not a Packer fan, but I'm playing one on TV today. The Green Bay Packers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go to the Super Bowl.
Hey,
Cuervo's head explodes.
You know what, though? That's okay, because it'll make it that much easier for me in the Super Bowl to go for, one team or the other. If Green Bay gets in, I'm going for the other team. No questions asked.
And the Bears' hate is real down there in the right corner.
It's obvious.
Hey, listen, I understand. I've got some, Richard Sherman. You want to talk some hate? Sonny Clark, I got some self-admitted hate. Can't
for
stand
no
it.
reason. That guy is
For no reason.
No, absolutely.
Honestly,
The arrogance of this guy just makes me want to puke. The leader of the Legion of Bungholes. So there you go. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. But
take that screenshot.
Yeah. So
hey, you know what though?
Green Bay Packers. So I think it's kind of obvious who Cuervo might be going. Hell, maybe I'm wrong. Cuervo, are you going to reach out and snag the Green Bay Packers to get a win in the land of football gods in Lambeau, or are you going to go Tampa Bay Buccaneer, the goat, the boat, or whatever you want to call them?
Are you asking for my?
I'm asking you. Now? Yes, right now.
I'm going to be cheering for Tampa Bay. But I think those ugly guys in green are going to win.
Yeah, they're ugly.
I actually think they're going to win.
You're driving now. You're not driving now. You're stationary, right?
No, I'm
drive yourself right into a tree,
right into the liquor store.
On the nearest cliff for actually picking the Packers.
Oh man, he just. I don't know about him, but I just threw up in my mouth. I'm not going to do it. Well, maybe I don't know, but maybe the boss can lead me. Boss, who do you? I mean. The 2020 Pick'em champion, so gotta give him some respect, So who do you have in this one, my man?
That's sarcasm at its finest, Sonny. I'll tell you that.
The love we got. Hey, it's mad love.
Hey, just like I pick every football game, I'm going with who I like, and it's going to be the boss, Brady.
Oh, see, now I'm actually surprised that you picked Tom Brady in this one. I have to admit, after watching how he just dismantled your Rams defense, thanks a lot for making me wrong in that pick. Thank you very much.
I thank you for Detroit too. So
yeah. But and by the way, I'm unfortunately I'm going to go Green Bay as well. So Tom Terrific will get hopefully. Well, we got Obi's pick. I'll get that in a second. But hey, he mentioned the Lions. Okay, it was the boss's fault. So I'm shooting over to the man himself there, Bryce. What do you think about this Matthew Stafford situation? I mean, the Detroit Lions are switching coaches. 1, 2 new coaches. Now Matthew Stafford wants out. Now, well, with the new hiring, does he really want out now? What do you think about the situation up in Detroit?
You know what? I am ecstatic to hear that Matthew Stafford wants to get out of Detroit.
Wow.
Not only that, I feel it is time. Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson should all go have their agents go to their organizations and say, "Get me out of here. I don't want to play for you anymore."
Wow.
Because they need to use their power and influence as players, because only the quarterbacks really have this power. Only a select few other players like Aaron Donald or something. But only they should use it and get out of these organizations that aren't going anywhere, wasting their careers. Yes, I said Dak Prescott too.
Wait a second. So are you actually saying that the Dallas Cowboys don't have any direct?
How dare you say such a thing? That is insanity.
I don't know. I think I agree with you.
Listen, I know people say what you want. Oh, Matthew Stafford's not that good. Empty numbers. Matthew Stafford has played for a trash organization for all of his career. He needs to get out of there, especially after hiring Dan Campbell. We won't even talk about that press conference. Let's just say he is He is being professional. He has a professional duty to have his agent do exactly what it is. I have come to a decision. I will not step foot on this in that field or that locker room anymore. Get me out. He should run out. He should force his way out. So should Dak Prescott, who should not sign his extension. He should say, I want out. And I'm going to go somewhere.
Right,
and Deshaun Watson should tell the Houston Texans to go kick rocks. I'm gonna I want out too.
The Jets. Right, come on. They're talking about this. You listen in New York, as far as the green side, where you go to, live in oblivion of mediocrity.
Sonny, yes,
it's a bad football team.
Yes, I take issue with the ownership of the Jets. But Joe Douglas is the new GM, and he did hire Robert Saleh, which looks like a very good hire. I think he was worthy of it. And Deshaun Watson was the guy, at least according to the reports, who wanted Robert Saleh interviewed at Houston. He has a lot of respect for him. So if he wants to go play for that coach, I think he should use all the leverage he has, send his agent in there, and say, I will never step foot on the field for this organization again. It's over. There's nothing you can do at this point. I don't even care if you hire Bieniemy and Leslie Frazier. I want out because they do not know. The whole process has been just jacked up from the beginning. The way they've gone about this, he should want out. And so should Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott would send such a statement if he just sent his agent into Jerry. Thank you for the opportunity. I don't want to be here anymore. Get me out. Same thing with Matthew Stafford. I love it. I hope he goes. Because I think Matthew Stafford can play.
The Dak Prescott one has got me a little bit confused because, maybe not confused, but feeling that the leverage might not necessarily be there now for Dak Prescott. Now, listen, I'm not saying that Dak Prescott's not a good quarterback because I think exactly the opposite. I think that he is the best thing for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward. Forget about any other player. Name anybody on the as far as the Dallas Cowboys are concerned. Name me any other player on that football team that you could live without. None of them. You can live without all of them except one. Except one. And
which is why he should go to Sonny and say, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, but that being said, with the injury and the amount of money that he made last year up underneath the cap, he's going to be on a franchise tag at worst, and he knows this. So he does have a little leverage that way. But will that leverage be enough to where I say, well, okay, will Jerry pay him again that amount of money? Knowing the uncertainty of that injury going into next year.
I wouldn't care. That's the problem. Like, you know what?
For him, he doesn't care.
You know what? I'll sit out the whole year in rehab.
Yep.
I just wouldn't go. It's over. Like, I would make a strong statement if I was Dak. Dak, you say you're available. There are 29 teams that would want you as the quarterback for their football team. Mm-hmm. Get out of this garbage organization who can't get out of their own way, who have the son and the GM who have never shown they know how to build a team. They're like you're wasting your career where you're not going to win a championship there. Get out.
Yep.
Use your leverage and get out.
Besides, Detroit's dangerous. You can die from extreme boredom up there.
Well,
shout out to the Detroit fans. That is the opinion of Dennis Clark. I have no beef with the Detroit fans.
The 6 weeks he lived in before he got the hell out of town. I lived up there for a couple of years. But that I wish Dak, real quick. I wish Dak, Deshaun, and Matthew Stafford acted more like Richard Sherman. Demanded their worth, were vocal about it, and said, this is the way it is. They need to do that because those organizations are so far. It's like you're not doing anything with them. They don't know what they're doing. They're not going to change. They'll make little tweaks, but they like it like this. So let them figure it out with somebody else. Time to go. Interestingly enough,
I'm going to scoot because the Instapot is calling my name. So.
All right, Instapot, in other words, lunch. So he's out to lunch. Put the sign out to lunch for DC. The Boston Club. Thanks for joining us.
By the way, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Bills later on. All right, so we
Yeah.
got the Bills.
Right.
Wow. You got any background on why you're picking the Bills, or is this just a gut feeling? And which, by the way, you got a pretty big gut, so it might be right.
Let me tell you, I am not on Mahomes' side today. I think he's hurt, and I think it's going to hurt him to play today. So.
Hey, listen, I've been thinking the same thing. The boss, DC, Dennis Clark, the 2000 NFL Pick'em champion. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later.
By the way, I put the interview up for Bryce and Cravo. It's audio only though, but it's up on the messenger. So
got it. All right, so audio only. Thank you very much. I gotta get the video. I'm gonna send it over to Pete after we're done. But thank you very much. So he's DC Dennis Clark. That's my brother from my same mother. Right there. As far as that now. You made a statement about Matthew Stafford in empty stats, and when you're a bad football team, such as the Detroit Lions, you know what? You can be the best quarterback in the world, but there's no better definition as far as empty stats in the world out of almost all the quarterbacks in the NFL, Matthew Stafford. Because like you said, how many years has that guy been there? How many years has this guy been coming from behind, which he would be throwing the ball where he had no business doing so if they had a good ran organization or they had a good football team? So you take a look at Matthew Stafford as far as his stats are concerned, they're bubbled. I mean, hugely because he's coming from behind. You see, and that's the thing about Matthew Stafford. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Matthew Stafford is not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But if you get him part of a good football team, he can become great. And that's the only thing that's really missing with him. See, and that's one of my problems with Phillip Rivers. That's one of my problems. Everybody talking about Hall of Famer that he is, and I know we run. It's a running joke here on the Couch Potato Sports Show about how I feel about Frank Gore, but I'm not impressed with numbers, and Matthew Stafford is an exact reason why. Okay, you're on a bad football team. You're playing from behind. You're just whipping up the ball. Hopefully, Calvin Johnson can come down. Although I don't know why he never utilized his tight ends before the last 2 years, but he never did.
They hardly had any.
Well, no, they had some. They had Pettigrew. He had 2 really good ones.
That's true, and they did have Ebron, who's a good pass receiver.
He missed out on a lot of opportunity because he was forcing the ball over to Calvin Johnson. That's a different story for a different day. But that goes along the numbers. I mean, I can sit and look at the numbers, and listen, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. If I had to rank them, Phillip Rivers has a better shot of, or in my view, has a better shot of being a Hall of Famer than Frank Gore. He might even get in faster. And Frank Gore,
because he's a quarterback, though, so they're going to look at the quarterback.
Exactly, but that and I think it will drive my point on why I respectfully, even though we joke around, respectfully don't think Frank Gore is the dependability of him. Well, he's available and everything else, but in a tight spot. Did you ever see Frank Gore get the ball? Did you ever? By the way, did you ever see him in too many playoff games? No. But the dependability where you go, oh, we got to give the ball to Frank Gore. See, that's the reason why it slaps me in the face. And Cuervo made mention of this, and he was right, by the way. Everybody thinks he's wrong, but I'm telling you he's right. When a kid's growing up, how many are saying, I want to be Frank Gore when I grow up? Or are they saying, I want to be LaDainian Tomlinson? Or do I want to be Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Eric Dickerson, all these guys? How many you're going to be in the long line of Payton, Walter Paytons, or are you going to be in the line of one with Frank Gore? Kids are not, that's what greatness is. Greatness exuberates to where you're noticed. Frank Gore has been living in oblivion of horrible football teams, by the way. Horrible. He had 2 good years in San Francisco. Okay. So, but when I look at the guys that make a difference, and obviously one would be, as far as Phillip Rivers is concerned, this is a guy that made a difference. This is a guy that touched the ball all the time. So obviously he's dependable, and he was good at that point. But to outstandingly step out and say Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer because of numbers, those numbers are skewed. And and what we say about Matthew Stafford, his numbers are huge. Believe me, if he had a good football team, those numbers would not be where they are right now as far as Matthew Stafford is concerned.
I think they would be, but I think he'd be winning more.
Winning
and I also
more.
believe I think he'd have more wins, and his numbers would be I think they'd be very good numbers. They'd be efficient numbers.
Yes.
Because I look at this guy. This guy can make all the throws.
Yes, he can.
I think he stands in the pocket. I think he has given that organization everything he can. Has he been great? No, but he's been really, really good. And in today's NFL with the quarterbacking, like, you mean to tell me there aren't teams that couldn't use Matthew Stafford? Please get me out of here.
Matthew Stafford go to Indianapolis. So you heard it here first. That's where
that would be a great destination for him. And I also believe, and you know what's interesting about this? I also believe that this tells me that Matthew Stafford sees himself playing for about 6 more years.
Yes. Oh, and we're
he's not at the end. No, he's like, I can play 6, 7 more years. I'm 31, 32. I want to play longer and win. I need to get out of here.
Absolutely.
And he needs to tell them, I do not want to play for you anymore.
Indianapolis,
you have failed me as an organization.
Reality, you think about this, Bryce. Indianapolis is one real wide receiver away. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be, and not only that, depending on what you think about the AFC South. Right now, listen, the Jaguars, new coach, new team. Listen, they're not making the playoffs next year. I don't give a crap how great Urban Meyer is. Okay, so that's not happening. The only real team that they got to look out for in reality is the Tennessee Titans. Okay, so that puts them, if they don't win the division, they're in a good run to make the playoffs now with instead of 6 teams, now it's 7. That puts them in a better opportunity to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs with freaking Phillip Rivers, for God's sake. Matthew Stafford's better. I'll just say it. Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers because of what you said. He can make the throws. He's got the arm. And if he gets the proper weapon. And by the way, can we finally say that T.Y. Hilton is not a number 1 wide receiver? I mean, for good God's sake. I mean, if you are the Colts, okay, if you're the Colts and you got Phillip Rivers and you're lining them up with your number 1 wide receiver, T.Y. Hilton, no wonder they didn't make the freaking playoffs and stay in. For God's sake, get the guy a weapon. He had an opportunity, and there goes the vein is up there in the brain. Man. Because the opportunity the Colts had to be really good in these playoffs, especially with that defense, could you imagine? Because they got a running game, so they're not missing there. They're missing out on a guy that can be their guy to where they can have a connection. I'm telling you also, just in Sonny's mind thinking, if you take Matthew Stafford in Detroit, put him in Indianapolis, and you head over just a little bit west and steal A.J. Green away from the Bengals because he's a free agent and keep him away from the Steelers. Because if he goes to the Steelers, I got news for you. I think that would be huge for you, by the way. You need to start developing some love for A.J. Green because he'll reemerge his career knowing that he can be in the playoffs a lot. So that's what needs to happen. Those are the 2 moves that Indianapolis needs to make, and they will solidify themselves next year in the playoffs before they even take 1 snap next year.
So I think T.Y. Hilton has been hurt. He was a number 1 receiver for a long time. I thought he was very good.
I'm sorry. He has never. He has never. And let me.
T.Y. Hilton has never been a number 1.
Capital EVER has never been a number 1 wide receiver on any football team that he played. He might have been there because of the way they put him there, but this guy has slowly not lived up to the hype that T.Y. Hilton has always had in his career.
T.Y. Hilton was a number 1 for Indianapolis, and he was a good number 1 for more than a few years over there. He's had a good career, but he's been hit. He's been injured. A.J. Green is in the same position. He has not looked the same coming off that injury.
That's true.
He has not looked the same, much like T.Y. Hilton.
Before that, even with the bad football teams that he played on, not only was he a number 1, he was the man. And by the way, you could be a number 1 wide receiver on the NFL squad in practice.
We're talking about practice, not a game.
So there you go. All right, not a game.
We talking about practice, not a game. We talking about practice.
Right there. All right, so practice. You can be Odell Beckham Jr. making these fantastic one-handed catches in practice, but when you don't put it out on the football field, you are just average. And that's, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you think my veins go popping when we talk about Frank Gore, if anybody suggests that T.Y. Hilton is a Hall of Famer, I'm going to bitch slap him into next week, okay?
Well,
so line them up.
No one is saying T.Y. Hilton is a Hall of Fame player.
I'm glad,
but he was a number one receiver, and particularly when Andrew Luck was there, he was really good. He had about 4 years that he was really good. It was hard to cover him. He's just getting a little older. He's a little bit on the smaller side, and he's been injured. Mm-hmm. He's made 4 Pro Bowls. The guy was a number one receiver, Sonny. You need to show more respect to T.Y.
All right, maybe I've been known to not show the respect when the opinion is so solidified in calcium. So there you go. It is what it is. But that being said, by the way, first of all, and I mean this sincerely, you are one of my favorite parts of this show. I go back just to watch you. I don't believe me. I hear myself talk every day, so I don't even want to hear it anymore. But listening to you and I have Cuervo on the show for the youngin. I got the mid one with you. Yeah, I got my mid guy with you. So and I'm the old man of the group. So I surround myself with smart people. Someone told me one day is surround yourself with smart people and they will make you look smart. But unfortunately, that has not worked in this case. But I do have the smart ones here, so this is good.
I appreciate
that you're able to come on now. I don't know how much time, so I'm gonna go. We talked about.
I'm gonna stay on.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. So that being said, let's go into the next game because this is the big one. Okay, I'll say it. I think it's the biggest game in reality. And the reason being is that you've got. I will say this though. You want to talk about 4 teams that are all close within their conferences. I mean. The Buccaneers and Green Bay are just about as close as it can be. Only closer would have been is if maybe the Saints figured out how to win. Mainly because of Drew Brees and things of that sort. I don't know if I think Drew Brees is a better quarterback right now than Tom Brady because hindsight is always 20/20. But Tom Brady is in the NFC Championship game and Drew Brees isn't. But that wasn't necessarily his fault. But he did cause a little bit of that. Now, when you look on the other side, you've got the Bills who have not been relevant in the NFL for over 25 years, okay? It's just as bad as the Dallas Cowboys. They just don't have the hype that the Dallas Cowboys have because they're in Buffalo. Listen, is there even a karaoke bar in Buffalo? I don't even know. I think you just drive through the town and you miss it if you blink, kind of thing. But it's not known for being anything big. Now they got the Buffalo Bills being relevant again. And listen, relevancy makes a difference. And here's one thing. When I was looking at you made mention of it. That defense was not supposed to step up the way they did because, listen, we talk about the NFL. We always talk probably a little bit too much on how much the quarterback means to a game. But last week, I'm going to tell you straight out, they came to play defensively. And if they play that way this week, I don't know if the Chiefs will be able to do it, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because the Chiefs' defense, especially in that secondary, we talked about it with Pete, that secondary alone, everything else is good. The secondary could be the reason why they lose this football game. And DC, the boss, Dennis Clark, I agree with him. I think there's a lot more to this. It's not the concussion. That part is not there. That hit that he took, his mama was pissed off about it. Now, and I don't place a lot on what a mama thinks about their kid getting hit in a football game because it just reminds me of Pee Wee League, and I wish the mother would shut up. But Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That being said, that was a different hit. I've never seen a hit like that, where it's almost like someone was trying to take his head and push him.
It wasn't intentional.
It was a brutal hit.
He got driven into the ground because he was trying to tackle him.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was dirty. By the way, I think his mom's wrong. I don't think it was a dirty hit at all.
But I mean, look, I understand his mom reacting, but I don't believe she was right that it was evil or it was a bad hit. I'm not going to go so far as to say she needs to shut up. I'm not going to say that because it's mom. I mean, mom is going to say, but no, I mean,
the mom's not relevant except for receiving. The mom's not relevant except for receiving a $10 million check from her son. That being said, of course, that's the name of the show.
Mom is always relevant.
Mom's always right. Yeah, I know. It's just like, parent. Listen, my daughter was a cheerleader. Okay, and from the age of 3 all the way through high school, and the place I hated to watch games was the Pee Wee leagues from around 7 to 8, and the parents getting involved. It just drove me nuts. But that's just me. But the Buffalo Bills right now. And I looked. I took the time and I sat down and I looked at all the teams. Out of all the teams that I thought would make it, and out of all the teams that I didn't think to make it, Buffalo wasn't at the bottom, and Buffalo wasn't at the top. I knew who they had, obviously, with their quarterback, and I know he's a dual threat. And that is one of the things that if you don't watch out for, you didn't see a lot of it this year. You've seen it. But that wasn't a big portion of it. Wouldn't it be interesting if the curveball comes and if we see Allen running the football like he's a running back? I think you throw a curveball at them because, let's be honest, we didn't see a lot of it this year. You've seen it when it had to happen. But I bet you plays are being drawn up. You're going to run the ball. You're going to look like you're going to throw it, but you're running the ball. And
Right.
just like they did for Murray down in Arizona, those plays were never intended to be pass plays. They were always run plays. And you see how the offensive line will move to make the holds. I think we'll see that today. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because of the fact that when you look at Kansas City, if he gets past that first line with his speed that he has, if he gets past that first line of defense, watch out. I think we could see maybe a 70, maybe 80-yard performance today out of Josh Allen.
I do believe the key to the game will be the run game, but not like you're saying it. I think they will try to run Josh Allen on some design runs, but I don't know if they can live and die by that. The key I'm going to watch for in this game is the Bills running backs versus the Kansas City defense.
Mm-hmm.
Can they generate a run game from their running backs? The Bills are a one-dimensional offense.
Absolutely.
Therefore, I think that plays more into the hands of the Chiefs. If there was more balance on that offense, I think the Chiefs' defense can be had, particularly off the play action. And not that you don't need the run game to be good to play pass. I think that's true. But I need to see them have more successful runs from the running back position against the Chiefs. And that's going to be the matchup I'm going to look for. I think Patrick Mahomes, in terms of his foot, we may have to look out there. Could that hamper his mobility a little bit? But the arm is still going to be there. The offense is still going to be there. No Le'Veon Bell, which will be interesting. So I think it's going to be the run games. Can Clyde Edwards-Helaire run? And can the Bills get a run game with their running backs?
Exactly. And one of the things that I worry about as far as the run game is concerned, like you said, there's no Le'Veon Bell, but that's just the name. Let's be honest. If anybody's been impressed with Le'Veon Bell this year, they're just under the optical illusion of his name. Okay, he's been mediocre at best, but listen, you got to take the name and you got whatever. You know what they always say. You got to slap a little respect. If you don't, that could end up burning you. But no Le'Veon Bell today, and that's big. So we go to the other side. Look at Tampa Bay. They're missing out on Antonio Brown. The big name is one of the big names are down. Well, guess what? One of the big names are down. And again, slap respect on the name. Although, and I agree with Cuervo. Okay, and I said I've never really been a Le'Veon Bell fan, even with you, with being the Steeler fan that you are and the success they have. But if you disrespect the skill set of Le'Veon Bell, he could burn you. But no Le'Veon Bell, that I think that might be because what Le'Veon Bell would have brought to this game to help, even though they've been there, they've done that, won the Super Bowl. You've got veteran leadership that have been in the playoffs and knows what needs to do in order to get to the big game. And Le'Veon Bell does bring that to you. He's been a part of the Steelers organization. And now, granted, I don't think they made the big game with Le'Veon Bell, did they? But they were in.
No, they made it to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, they've been to many playoff games, and that experience I think could be useful. So maybe we'll see Le'Veon Bell in maybe a different role, maybe coaching up on the side, keeping people aware of what's going on. So I have that hope in Le'Veon Bell because out of all the guys that I really dislike, I always kind of hope Le'Veon Bell would land and take off and be the guy that everybody loves. So I guess I got a little love. It might be because these Steelers, the Steelers there, but I think because I always felt that Antonio Brown dug him into that. I really do. But hey, that's just me.
Teammates love Le'Veon Bell. He left Pittsburgh for money reasons. He made a money decision. It wasn't because he wasn't liked in the locker room.
Absolutely.
I think the guys didn't like that he didn't communicate as well as he should have, but it was about the money.
Yeah.
That was it.
Hey, say whatever you want. It's all about. It's always about the money, and I'll tell you straight out. But in this game, I was looking at the Bills, and I think I'm more impressed with what the Bills have done. By the way, okay. Say whatever you want about the Chiefs. They were expected to be right where they are, and if anybody thought differently, they just weren't paying attention. Who's running that football team? Listen, you don't pay a guy $500 million. Let me just say that again. Billion. You want to talk about a guy that got paid? That guy got paid. That got paid. He's a football god. So that being said, I look at the Buffalo Bills. I didn't expect this. No, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I expected them to win to get into the playoffs. And if they took a first round bye, it wouldn't have surprised me because they're still an up-and-coming team. Even with Josh Allen and what's going on, they're still up. That defense is going to be a big difference in this game. And you're right. They showed up last week like no one really expected. And I think that's going to be the key to the game. I thought maybe special teams might do it, but the fact that Buffalo Bills defense showed up the way they did last week, I think the Chiefs are in a lot of trouble. Then throw on the fact that is really Patrick Mahomes 100% in the game. I think he can play, but is he Patrick Mahomes? Now, I heard a line earlier, and I'm going to get your opinion on it. Patrick Mahomes 80% is better than most. I don't know if I believe it. What do you think? Patrick Mahomes at 80%, is he better than Josh Allen? Is he better than most quarterbacks in the NFL? I think it's the 20% that got him paid the amount of money he got paid.
I do think 80% of Patrick Mahomes is better than a lot of these guys who are starters. Not necessarily not the upper echelon guys, but a lot
the
of
ones in the playoffs,
guys.
maybe.
No, I wouldn't say that. 80% of Patrick Mahomes is not better than 100% of Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yeah. Got it.
Or 80% of Patrick Mahomes, just because of his greatness, is not better than Tom Brady.
Maybe better than the quarterback in Washington that made the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
You're talking about Jared Goff or Tannehill, who I think has played well. 80%.
How about 80% of Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, who's better?
Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. So there you go.
Because even 80%, let's just say he has no mobility and he can't really move.
Yeah.
You can throw it anywhere.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Look who's back. The high and tight. And by the way, I'll even say he looks better high and tight. He looks better cleaned up and ready to rock and roll. So I got two good looking ones here, and I'm the ugly one. That's really everywhere I go. I'm the ugly one. I'm the one that the ugly girl gets. I don't know. But hey, it is what it is. That being said, Since I got you, Cuervo, I know you puked in your vote, so you are officially going to go Green Bay. I know you puked in your mouth when you said it, but yeah, all right.
I had to drink a gallon of mouthwash after that. Not swish it around and spit it out. No, I had to drink it.
Yeah, he downed it.
That's right.
He's got a new voice today. Thank you for that drowning. All right. So that being said, Cuervo. All right. Looking at this game, the Bills and the Chiefs. This is the better one of the games. I'll say it. Even though you got the goats and the boats together, you got the goat, which is you have the goat. They're both goats, but say whatever you want about Tom Brady. He is the best of all time, the best, not the great. He's the best. So he's got both titles right now. Aaron Rodgers only has one of those titles. But this game, Cuervo, Bryce mentioned about that defense of Buffalo last week showing up almost out of nowhere in reality. What do you think about this game, the Bills and the Chiefs in Kansas City?
Well, I mean, I think this is going to be an AFC championship for the ages, to be honest with you. I think that's how good this game potentially could be. You're talking about, no doubt, the two best teams in the AFC. Sorry, Bryce, but one good true statement deserves another. So,
absolutely,
they were the two best teams in the AFC, and I think that, like I said, this one could go down, for the history books in the sense of how good it was. You'll see it on NFL films 10 years from now. And I just think because of, you think of the storylines, Patrick Mahomes going for defending the title. You got Josh Allen leading the Buffalo Bills, trying to get them to their first Super Bowl since 1993. That's almost 20 years almost 30 years.
30
of the Buffalo Bills with heartbreak after heartbreak, and
they went to 4 Super Bowls and didn't win. Right? Am I right?
They went 4 in a row, didn't win.
4 in a row. By the way, imagine getting there once is hard enough. Twice, 3, 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And end up in heartbeat each time. That just shoots your confidence in the foot.
Yeah. Oh no. Of course, and it would do for any franchise. It's not just specifically any team, but to go 4 in a row and you can't get the job done once.
Oh God, that's gotta hurt.
And the other thing too, I've grown to kind of get into the whole Bills Mafia thing. I think that's a great it's
a great little storyline, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cool thing that got going on up there, breaking tables and all that good stuff. But I mean, I think that with the storylines you have in this game, that's what makes it for such a great, like I said, it could go down as one of the best we've seen in recent memory. Not to mention, the quarterbacks that you have with Allen and Mahomes. Those guys, it's going to be like Brady and Manning all over again, in my opinion, with these two. These two are going to be competing in the AFC every year for a chance at a ring, in my opinion. So this is the beginning of it. So as Bryce and I like to do when Sonny goes on his tangents, strap up because it's going to get fun. It's going to be fun.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, Brian, hopefully we get Brian. I think he unplugged himself because he does that every once in a while. Because he usually says bye before he's back, so we should get him back. And there's Cuervo. He decides to go that route too. So we're not looking at a blank screen. We'll just do this. We'll just bring Cuervo back into this a little bit differently. But when you're looking at this game, Cuervo, I think it could be a game where you're going to see one play make a huge difference. It's going to be that turnover. It's going to be that one play that shoulda, woulda happened, and it didn't. So, what are you looking at in this game? What is the thing that brings you back into it saying, listen, this is going to be the determining factor on who's going to win the game?
Well, I think it's all going to depend on the running game of Kansas City in reality, because you know what you're getting with Mahomes,
Yep.
and I think that you know whether Edwards-Helaire is going to play, because I think right now he's listed as questionable. So whether he plays or not, how effective he's going to be, that's going to be the other thing too. Is you can have him in the lineup, but is he doing anything? Is he contributing, or is he getting 1 yard per carry? How, is he going to make an impact in this game? And so I think Kansas City's running game is something to watch for. But I also think that the safety play of the Buffalo Bills on the other side is going to be important too, because I think when it comes to Kansas City's offense, if you're able to of the offense in stopping Travis Kelce, then I think you have a chance at slowing down the whole Chiefs offense, because a lot of it goes through Kelce, whether it's on seam routes, catching first downs, whether it's blocking schemes. I think Kelce is a huge part of that offense, and that's what helps gel everything together, is having Travis Kelce. I'd be interested to know how well Kansas City's offense runs if Travis Kelce out of the lineup. If there's ever been a time that he's been hurt or sat a game out or whatever, I'd be interested to know how effective that offense still is.
Interestingly enough,
I think they can survive without the certain wide receivers, but I think that don't have Kelce, that.
Okay, I think we got a trip up in here. There he is. Now he's back. So say that last statement again, Cuervo. You broke up. And he's still breaking up.
Yeah,
okay.
What I was saying was, when it comes to Kelce, I think if you slow him down or you make him ineffective, then I think you make the whole Chiefs offense ineffective.
So interestingly enough, I think that right there I've been back and forth on this game. So, I'm just I'm actually going to go with DC's pick, not because he picked them. I think it's the right pick today. As far as, I don't know. If they win, we know Patrick Mahomes is 100%. I think the fact that maybe he is still hurt, I think the fact that maybe he's not 100% coming into this game, and as Cuervo has said before, as far as, or Bryce says, 80% of is not going to be enough today. And I don't know. I just don't think it is, and that's the reason why I'm going to go Buffalo. And I hate to be so plain about it, but the simple fact of the matter is this game is about quarterbacks. In reality, both of these games in reality are about the quarterbacks. So I'm not going to shy away from it. It will be about that defense. I think also the Buffalo defense shows up. So I'm going to go Buffalo. So who are you going to go there? Let's get on the record with Brian.
All right, Sonny, on the record. And then I actually have to head on out. But let's go on the record. I think it's going to be a really good game. I respect everything that the Bills have done. They have a very interesting team. That defense showed up and made it very interesting for me.
I hear a big butt coming along.
But with that being said, this is the name of your show. Ultimately, I don't believe the Buffalo running game will be able to do enough, and the Chiefs defense will be able to do enough. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm wondering, since Buffalo went against a one-dimensional offense, they were able to key in. They're well coached. This is a different animal. This is a bi-dimensional offense. They can throw it and they can run. And I just feel that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will do enough, and Patrick Mahomes will do enough. The Chiefs go to their second Super Bowl in a row.
Wow, there he is. Kansas City up on there. So I will mark Bryce down for the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills for today. Bryce, always good to see you. Thanks.
Always great to come on, Sonny.
Glad you
Love
were
the
able
show.
to get on with Pete and get in there. And I'll send you a still so you can say, hey, I know Pete Koch.
Yeah, I know Pete Koch, no doubt. Shout out to Pete.
All right, good to see you,
All right, Cuervo. See you too.
Bryce from Brooklyn, and by the way, just to let everybody know, when I think about Bryce,
Can you dig it, sucker?
I do. I can dig it, sucker. I can. He's the man. So that being said, I didn't write it down. So who are you going to go ahead and pick in this game there, Cuervo? And hold on, I gotta hit that button right there. Oh, I saved that. I love still pictures. And right now, so I'm going to send you a still picture. It looks like you've already started drinking adult beverages in the still picture. It's great. I'll send it over to you as well. And matter of fact, before I forget to do that, let me go here. And yep. All right. Okay. So you're saved. Oh, man. That's just wrong. Oh man, you gotta hate the internet.
It is wrong, Sonny.
At the same time when you see things like this. I'll show it to you in a second. It's horrible. But big game today, and so let's see what you do. Let's get official. What are you looking at? And so, are you gonna pick the Buffalo Bills, or are you gonna go Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I think this is going to be. Can you hear me, Sonny?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, like I said, this one's going to be, one for the ages. I think this is a sneak peek of what we're going to see for the next 10 years in the AFC is Mahomes versus Allen, and maybe if if the other teams can get it together, maybe sprinkle in a little Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, guys like that. But I think it's going to be Mahomes and Allen. Those are going to be the two heavyweights in the AFC for the next 10 years. But as far as today, I think that I just don't think Buffalo has enough in the running game defensively to be able to do what they're going to want to do against Kansas City. And I think that Kansas City wins. Mahomes will get and Andy Reid will get to his second straight Super Bowl. And, I think this will be a very painful but very beneficial experience for the Buffalo Bills. And I think they'll be right back in it next year.
Yeah, interestingly enough,
today,
by the way,
Kansas City will win.
Just to let you know, Obi is on the Green Bay Packers today, and he is also on the Kansas City Chiefs today. So we see where he is coming from. And even Tarvin chimed in a little bit earlier today. He is saying the Bills are scary. But I didn't actually get. They may be the best team in the NFL. But he's going the Chiefs officially on his pick, that being Brian Tarvin. So he's going to go the Packers, and he's also going Kansas City in this one. So, by the way, the fun part about doing this show is with you, the way you move around and everything. I just want you to see what everybody saw from you here. There he is, right there. It's Cuervo right there. Right, he has had a couple of adult beverages right there. I've even had my moment. So, but right there, looked like he just. That's probably what, about 6 Jägermeister shots right there. By the way, are you in the kitchen?
You want to talk about throwing up in your mouth? I've had some bad experiences with. Oh no, that's my basement, my garage. So this is pretty cool. We have a flag. It says "A House Divided," and as you can see there,
that is
definitely
funny.
a house divided.
That is funny. That's a crack up. That's awesome. So is this like your new studio now?
It's a healthy rivalry.
Put into the garage now.
Well, I've made a gentleman's cave out of it. So
Got it. There you go.
You got the TV back here, and you got some other sports stuff hung up. You got some pennants back there, as you can see.
Yeah.
So
you're all set, man. Look at you.
My getaway spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
every man needs a man cave.
That's right. Where's yours at, Sonny?
My whole apartment is my man cave.
Well,
so
can't beat that.
There you go.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you can't beat it. But I don't know how much time you got left. Just really quick here before we may lose you or may not. Right now, according to the Miami Dolphins, good, bad, or indifferent, say whatever you want, but it sounds like they're on the record and they are going to stay with Tua as they hire a quarterback coach, Charlie Fry. And now, guys that don't know who Charlie Fry is, listen, this guy knows his stuff. So if they're going to get what they want out of Tua, if Charlie Fry can't get the job done, nobody can.
Didn't he used to play for the I want to say for the I know the Detroit Lions. He played for a little while. Wasn't he in Miami too? I can't remember now.
He was in Miami as far as he made his way around a lot, but he was with Cleveland at one time. As far as that, in case you didn't know,
that's right.
Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland drafted him. Seattle was another team, and the Oakland Raiders. So, interestingly enough, but he's just hired as the quarterback. But he was the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach for Central Michigan, which, by the way, has been pretty good. Now, I don't know about this year. I'll be honest. I just didn't keep up with college football. I didn't really care. But years before, Central Michigan has actually been a pretty good football team in reality, Cuervo. Have lost Cuervo. I lost him completely. I don't even have it.
I didn't hear what you said, Sonny.
Oh, there he goes. Are you there?
I'm here, Sonny. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So I got you up. I got your picture up. Central Michigan, not this year. Like I said, I wasn't keeping track, but the years before, Central Michigan's actually been a pretty good college football team.
Yeah, I want to say that's where didn't Antonio Brown go there? I can't remember now. I know a couple of guys recently that are big names in the NFL went to Central Michigan, and I want to say the guy that got the job at Minnesota came from Central Michigan. I can't think of his name now. PJ Fleck.
And I just lost Cuervo, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make the reconnect again up on that as far as that's concerned. Some more NFL news before we get out of here. Maybe we'll get him back. I don't know. But now, according to what's going on in this, then I don't know what you want to think about Davis Sanchez. He is NFL analyst. He comes out and says the toe injury may hamper him. That being Patrick Mahomes. That's another reason why of the situation. And more. How about this? More news for the Detroit Lions. The former head coach is headed back to New England. And I'll tell you straight out, it's unbelievable. I don't know what's going on, Cuervo. As far as in and out, I'm not sure what's going on. So the Cuervo is kind of checking back in with us. But now that being said, so Matt Patricia heading his way back to New England as the defensive coordinator. Interestingly enough, that should be, and it's also more news as far as the Browns. The Texans are interviewing former quarterback and Josh McCown for their head coaching job. And I'll tell you, the one that might have made people a little bit upset or maybe not too happy, Mike Singletary was not hired by the Chicago Bears as once was looking at since Chuck Pagano went ahead and retired. They went ahead and promoted the safeties coach, Sean Desai, to replace Chuck Pagano on the defensive side of the ball. Again, more news as far as the game is concerned today. Antonio Brown will not be in uniform today for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they try to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game. As far as the Bills are concerned, their wide receiver Gabriel Davis will be available to play on Sunday. So he was actually listed as questionable in that one. So look out for that one. The Washington Football Club has hired a new general manager, Martin Mayhew, for the general managing position. And that's evidently a pretty good relationship with Ron Rivera. And so that's good news as far as Washington is concerned. Because say whatever you want about Washington, not making the or making the playoffs, but not having a good showing. That defense is there, and it is there. So watch out for them. Again, interestingly enough, also this is a report that came out the other day as the Philadelphia Eagles were nearing a deal to hire Nick Saban to be their head coach. Not say mark that Nick Sahari, and I'm not sure who this guy is actually, except the fact that I know he was in Indianapolis. I'm not sure necessarily who he is or how all of a sudden he's becoming the hot commodity that that the Eagles would need to do. And I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, and we had Pete Koch here in the show. That being said, I think, and I could be wrong, Eric Bieniemy, I mean, that should have been their number one goal as far as I think the Philadelphia Eagles to go ahead and bring a guy in to play for him. So also, long NFL coach Gary Kubiak has announced his retirement. So he is done as well. Let's see some of the other news that are out there. How about this? And I talked about who I wanted for the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and instead Raheem Morris, he was hired as the defensive coordinator there for the Rams. So interestingly enough, as Staley moves out, that job became available. So Raheem Morris, I think is. I think the world of that guy. I think that was going to be huge. Again, back in Jacksonville, they go ahead and they hire an assistant out of Baltimore as the defensive coordinator. It's Joe Cullen. So you got Joe Cullen. You got Charlie Strong as the linebackers coach. I don't know. So... And again, the Lions go ahead and they get Dan Campbell. I don't necessarily think that is the guy that's going to make the big, huge difference there. I always go back and I think about Mike Singletary as a head coach. Just this speech and the way he kind of put himself out there to be seen like kind of reminded me of Mike Singletary. We'll see if that will be a little bit different there for the Detroit Lions. I mean, listen, you got Green Bay to deal with within your own division. That's bad enough. Okay, then you add up on the fact that the Bears might be able to figure something out, but Minnesota, you got a division of football where you are going to play bumps and bruises. You are going to play black and blue football. That means physical football. And that's the reason why he says they're going to take out kneecaps. Now, granted, he didn't necessarily mean that literally, but, it just reminds me, because I watched the thing, and it just reminded me of Mike Singletary. And then I asked myself, is Mike Singletary was he a good head coach? Although I like Mike Singletary, of course, Chicago Bear, great that he was. I don't know about head coaching material. So that's about where we are. So great day here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Talked about the two big games that are happening, the AFC and NFC championship game. And, of course, we brought in Pete Koch right up there, right there in the corner. Look at him right there. Brought him in today. Good interview. Lots of fun with him. Got his version, got an insight of football in reality from a guy who's actually played the game. And, yes, 14 picks. 14 was it 14? 16 picks better than Boomer Esiason. So, plus, I didn't even come close to going through my list for all the questions that I had for Pete Koch because I want to make sure my guys got an opportunity with him. And so he's agreed that he'll come back up on the show here soon. So, that being said, that's the name of the show. That's going to do it for us here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Had a great day. Hope everybody has a great day watching the games. Two big games. Who will be in the Super Bowl? Then we get the 2 weeks of news hype about it. Wait, whoa. Just as I was about ready to bail on out of here. There he is. He's back. Hey, Cuervo.
Not going anywhere yet, Sonny.
But, hey, wasn't it fun to have Pete Koch on? Obviously you got to talk about some of the, your little bit of connection there. And also getting insight from a guy who's actually played the game. I always love that.
Oh yeah, I loved having Pete on. Hopefully we get him on again soon. I did want to ask him about some other things, like when he was filming the movie, because like I mentioned, I had watched a 6-part video that he did on YouTube breaking
on his
the movie
website
down. Yeah, and he mentioned something about how there were Marines there that were coaching them on, how we walk, how we talk, how we wear our uniform, and stuff like that. I asked him about, did he get to do any actual training, physical training or, stuff like that. And I was going to ask him if he had heard about this nice little hill on the base. It's called the Reaper. And so I wanted to know if maybe you heard about it or you got to experience climbing up the Reaper. It's a great time.
Yeah. Interest, yeah, and we'll have him back on. He said he'll come back on. I got a pretty good relationship with a couple of guys that I love having on the show. I had him back as far as back in 2013 when they inducted me into the minor league football Hall of Famer with my connections with Coach E, who just recently passed away last year. And so much so he's been so busy he didn't even hear about Coach E passing. So I'm glad I make the connection just for that. So to let him know about that. But a great show today. Had a lot of fun, of course, having Bryce up on the show. And so I will ask you, Cuervo. One, Phillip Rivers is being touted as a possible Hall of Fame quarterback. So I guess I want to get your opinion on Phillip Rivers and the possibility that he may or may not make it into the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
I don't know if he'll be first ballot, Sonny, but he'll get in. And
you want to know why he's going to get in? You want to know why he's going to get in? Because of what you said. It's because of what you said. Kids grew up wanting to be Phillip Rivers. I'm telling you right now, they did. Okay? Mm-hmm. He just had that about him. I mean, again, did they do that about Frank Gore? No. But listen, Kids wanted to be Phillip Rivers. So I get the number aspect on why people want people in the Hall of Fame, such as a Frank Gore. I get it. And by the way, just let everybody know, I realize Frank Gore is going to make it into the Hall of Fame. I just judge greatness a little bit different than most. But when you said that little kids grow up wanting to be someone, that right there, I think, also solidifies on whether or not you're really a Hall of Fame a player. And Phillip Rivers is one. He's going to get in because of his numbers, even though they're a little inflated from coming back in games, when they're a little bit down, but still a quality guy. I think he makes it.
Yeah, I think he does too. And again, I think the reason that he may not get first ballot is because the knock on him, number one, not making the Super Bowl, let alone winning one. But listen, top 5 in passing yards, top 5 in passing touchdowns. Top 5 in completions, I believe. So those stats right there, and that's why I call him Dan Marino 2.0. And ever since I said that, I've heard a lot of people make that same comparison. And I'm not trying to take credit for it, but I think that validates my comparison. Is that he's Dan Marino 2.0. All the stats in the world. He's got all the stats in the world, but the problem is that he doesn't have any jewelry to back up his accomplishments in his career. And I think that,
interestingly enough, you think about LaDainian Tomlinson, who was with him for a long time as well, and LT is in the Hall of Fame. And he was part of those. If he was going to make it, it was going to be with those teams. And unfortunately, it was an up year, down year, up year, down year. The next, it's back. During that time that he was there, they just couldn't put it together to get into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I mean, and they had some opportunities. Tom Brady got in their way, or Ben Roethlisberger got in their way. So he was that guy that almost like a Charles Barkley who was on some good teams, and just fell short. Or Karl Malone, John Stockton, another example of a guy on a team that just. It was just like right there. One or two things could have went different, and the Chargers would have made a Super Bowl or two. It just wound up not happening, and I think the Hall will take that into consideration. But at the end of the day, I think that will cause him to not be a first ballot. He'll be second. I think he'll second, at very worst third ballot.
Wow, I think that's a little early. But we'll see. What will end up happening? I think that might be a little early. I think they run them around 5 years. So we'll see what happens with that.
No. We'll get it before that, Sonny.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about the. I think he's Hall of Fame worthy. I'll put him in there, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be right away. I won't put him in right away. That being said, in Detroit, you have a quarterback who's a little bit upset and wants out. That being Matthew Stafford. I talked about it a little bit with our other partner in crime, Bryson Brooklyn. Says that guy is a bad football team. And I just threw this out just to let everybody know. There's 2 guys that Indianapolis has to go after. And one is Matthew Stafford and the other A.J. Green. And if they get those 2 guys on Indianapolis, look out AFC South.
Oh, boy. Stafford and A.J. Green back together, if I'm not mistaken. Does that line up? I think they played at Georgia together. I'm pretty sure that the years line up.
I think they did play together, and it was towards the end of Matthew Stafford was going out, but I think they had 2 years together before he made his way out there.
Yeah. Oh man, if those 2 could get link up again in a place like Indy with T.Y. Hilton and Jonathan Taylor at running back, man, watch out AFC South, like you said. But that's going to take a lot of money and a little bit of draft stock to the Colts have to give up. So, but I think those 2 moves alone, I think, would make them.
Be a tough out.
Let me think. You got what? You got Houston. You got Jacksonville. You got
Tennessee's
Houston,
only a
Jacksonville,
viable
and Tennessee.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I think that would take the Colts over the top though. I honestly believe that.
Yeah, because T.Y. Hilton sucks. Yeah, always has, always will. Overhyped player that T.Y. Hilton is. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, T.Y. Hilton overrated, completely over. In fact, T.Y. Hilton,
terrible. Crazy knucklehead are terrible.
He's terrible. I'm sorry, he's not number one. If he is a number one, you got some mad love for him, but he's never been a number one. Although his ranking has been a number one on a team. T.Y. Hilton. Can we finally admit that this guy sucks?
I mean, I just think that he's had some bad quarterback play recently. When he was with Andrew Luck, I mean, the guy was lighting it up. And then Andrew Luck retires. They bring in Brissett. He didn't do jack squat for them. And then Phillip Rivers last year, took the last few games, but then T.Y. Hilton, that last few games of the season, finally started heating up. And so I just think T.Y. unfortunately has had some bad quarterbacks since Luck retired. He hasn't had much luck. So I think that if they can bring in a Matthew Stafford, though, I think you'll see T.Y. Hilton be a premier receiver again.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I look at T.Y. Hilton. Maybe I should be impressed, but I'm not. He did have 4 years where he was over 1,000 yards. 2016 in Indy, 1,400. But of course, we do realize who was there. Andrew Luck was getting him the ball. But so maybe he is a victim of who's throwing him the football. Maybe, maybe I might be. Maybe I'm a little bit rough on it, But I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Dare you say such a thing? That is insanity.
No, I admit maybe I might be wrong. No, I'm not wrong. He's just not great. But if he's got the weapon, if he got the ball that can deliver, hey, listen, Matthew Stafford can deliver the ball. Maybe Matthew Stafford could get him the ball. And again, you bring on AJ Green. Listen, I will tell you this. This is what I will tell you, Cuervo. AJ Green is going to be, he will not be a Bengal next year. Mainly because they're not going to get their quarterback back, which is going to be a bad thing for them. I don't think he's going to be back. And right now, I'll tell you right now, if the Pittsburgh Steelers pick up A.J. Green and they could keep him healthy, oh, man, could that be an exciting thing as far as the Steelers are concerned? That would be a huge weapon if he is up and ready to go. But Bryce made this point a little bit earlier, Cuervo. He did not look very good coming off of that injury this year. So it'll be real interesting to see what mindset T.Y. Hilton is going into next year.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting too. And I think a little bit more time with Joe Burrow. I think that could be a good combination. So, I'll be interested to see what Cincinnati looks like next year if AJ Green sticks around. And I think you'll see the AJ Green we're used to seeing, the one that was 1,500-yard guy when he had Andy Dalton throwing in the football. So I think you'll see that same guy. It's just going to take some time, get him and Burrow on the same page, and just kind of get that connection going. So, and I think that's why the Bengals kept Taylor at head coach. You gotta give him a chance to show some consistency. And
I agree.
Sometimes that's why when we're up in arms about why certain coaches don't get fired, I just think because teams see potential in certain guys and they just want to see the consistency. But if it's not there, then it's not there. That's why I fully believe that's why Matt Nagy is still in Chicago. But I'm going to tell you right now, Sonny, if the Bears go 6-10, 7-9 again, and they've either missed the playoffs or they're one and done again, there's no reason to keep him around. It just seems like that would be the ceiling. That would be the ceiling for the Bears if it's another 7-9, 8-8 type season.
Interestingly enough, Matt Patricia, the former head coach of the Detroit Lions, is going back to New England. So I just wonder how that's going to look. I wonder how that's going to play out.
Well, I mean, it's going to work out great for Matt Patricia, but it does nothing for him as a coach. You know, sometimes we think what we think is good for us is actually bad for us. And Matt Patricia reverting back to going to New England as the defensive coordinator, he's not progressing as a coach. He's not improving. I think he bit off more than he could chew as a head coach in Detroit. But I think, you know, hey, if you want to go back to being a defensive coordinator, that's fine. But he should have went to another franchise. Why are you going to go back to your comfort zone, Bill Belichick? He's not going to develop as a coach. And I think buyer beware next year. If a team is looking for a head coach and Matt Patricia's name comes up, I wouldn't do it because he's not going to improve. He's not going to progress as a coach. He's just going to sit back, kick back, and collect a paycheck with old Billy Boy. And he's just not going to get better.
Interestingly enough, think about Josh McDaniels. You know, Josh McDaniels goes.
Same thing for him.
Yeah, for him. He goes back, though. He's had success. So he's got proven success on the other side. And if Matt Patricia wants another job, he's going to have to do the same thing, Clarabelle.
Well, and that's why, and if I had the ability to talk to GMs around the NFL, I would tell them buyer beware for Josh McDaniels, too, because he went back to his comfort zone in New England. And I guarantee if he gets another head coaching job, it's not going to work. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to work.
Interestingly enough, it will be seen. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is even being talked about, you know, more so than Tim just taking the role right there in New England if and when Bill decides to be done with it. I think that's the situation there. So, I don't know. Anything else you want to hit on before we're out of here? The game, I think, starts in about 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's a little later because we came on a little early, you know, to get Pete on. That being said, anything you want to cover before we're out of here?
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I think we broke it down pretty good, Sonny. First game is in about 35 minutes. I've got the tri-tip on the grill right now, so that's slowly cooking. Yeah, that's why I've been in and out for the past hour or so. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be excited to watch these games. You know, you got one game where you got the proven veterans, the Hall of Famers, the two that we consider some of the best of all time, and then on the other side you got the two up and coming studs that are gonna run the league for the next 10 years. So I think what you're gonna see at the end of the season, Sonny, no matter what combination you get in the Super Bowl, it's gonna feel like the passing of the torch.
Yeah. And you see that in sports all the time where the passing of sports is right in front of us. I think you're right, especially the Mahomes, Allen kind of thing. And you got the old timers on the other side with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. You might be right. A difference between the difference between two conferences where you got the old guys on one side and the young guys on the other. See how that. Yeah, so we got the old side on this side and the young side over there, and that being you. So that's why I keep you here. You got to keep you young. So that's it for me. So I think we're done, man.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, we are done. I'm sure we're going to be chatting it up on Facebook Messenger. So
I am sure. I'm definitely. I got my phone ready. It's all charged and ready to go. So we'll definitely be talking about it. So
I think I'm going to go wash my mouth out again because I picked.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so take another shot. 1-2.
Yeah. I'm going to be cheering for Tampa, though. I'm going to be cheering for Brady, but I just don't see it happening, Sonny, to be honest.
All right, so just to reiterate, you are on the Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs today, correct?
That is 100% correct.
I just want to make sure I gave him the opportunity to back off it. So, so that's going to do it. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the games. We're out of here. Take care. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Couch Potato Sports Show, your internet radio home.